Welcome to the Sports Show. Mike, Max, Patrick Royce, and Sid Hartman. Lavelle E. Neal was supposed to join us tonight, but he got a little thing called a 3-hour rain delay. Set him back and forced it. That got me thinking, okay, Patrick, so in this day and age, I know how you guys move your copy to the newsroom. But,
yes.
But 30, 40 years ago, before a fax machine, what was it? Was there always some way of electronically doing this?
Western Union machines, when did they come in? When I first came to the Star Tribune in '63, you had a dedicated Western Union operator who would send the copy to your desk. And then about 2 years later, in the mid-'60s, they started, you would give it to a Western operator, but they were able to dial, it wouldn't have to be dedicated. They were able to dial a number and send it to you. And then we went to, we didn't go to
the thing you put the paper in.
Yeah, we went to the we went to the telecopier in the late 60s, early 70s. So you went and fed it into a Xerox machine. But when I first started covering baseball in '74, I had to carry a suitcase with a Xerox machine in it.
Really?
Yeah.
And so, and again,
typewriter, a Xerox machine, and a suitcase.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there a lot of 8 o'clock starts back then too, or
when you were
only
covering
in the early
baseball?
years? The '74, and I didn't carry a computer till '78, my last year on the beat. So
okay, Sydney, how did that work? So you'd go bang out a column. And then what? I mean, if you're at a Viking game or a Twins game, you'd pop a column together or what?
I go back to the office. I'm not.
No, but if you're on the road.
No, but if he was on the road, he'd type it up and hand it to a Western Union operator.
Yeah.
And you just give it to a Western Union operator?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then back here, if they had edited or something,
that was way back.
Yeah.
Western Union.
My favorite story on that is we sent down, this is in the '70s, so we still had the dial-up Western Union, and we sent our buddy Don Riley to a Notre Dame Southern Cal game, and this was before Don decided that he wanted to get more sleep at night. You know, well, he's a crusader for AA, so Don. This was why he was, and we didn't hear from Don, and they played the Notre Dame Southern Cal game, and we didn't hear from Don, and on Tuesday, we're in the office, and we get his column advancing the game, telling us why Notre Dame was going to win. So there's a little Western Union hang up there. 3 days later, we couldn't run the thing. So.
I would say he was the all-time character. I don't think nobody was close to him.
No.
Hallman was a little close, but not quite.
Yeah, Charlie wasn't quite the legend that Riley is, who's, by the way, still alive and healthy.
Is he?
Doing well.
His wife living too?
Lost his wife. That was a big blow to him.
The best story about him is he went to cover a game someplace.
Don Riley, this is now.
Yeah,
he stopped off for gas, and his wife went in the bathroom, and he didn't look and see if she came back, and he got back to St. Paul and didn't know his wife was
pre-cell phone days, right?
Pre-cell phone. He went to a Notre Dame game, took Dottie with him, driving back, stopped for gas in Toma. She went into the girls' room. He got in the car, drove to
Thought she was sleeping in the back seat.
His two daughters were sitting on the front seat saying, "Dad, you left Mom in Toma." He had to have a cup of coffee and drive back.
Right back together.
Got back to you, wow.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. He was an all-timer. They had that Gallivan's restaurant over there. That was a lot of freeloading in that place.
Well, they used to say there was nothing easier to buy than an Irish sports writer from St. Paul. I don't know what they meant, but I worked with a few of them.
So was it for you? Was it a better era in the '70s? Was it more fun to cover sports then or today, or doesn't it matter?
Well, I think it was easier with these guys. You didn't have the voicemail when you tried to call them up. They had to answer the phone.
Yeah, right.
They were dumb enough to think they had to answer
you didn't
back
have
then.
caller ID.
Yeah, that's right.
Worst thing that ever happened, caller ID.
I mean, they had no chance. They had to pick up the phone. Now, voicemail has killed everything. With secretaries and everything.
I got a hunch that when they got those calls for the Sports Hero at 5:30 in the morning, they didn't have to look at the caller ID to know who the hell was calling.
No way.
But the other thing is, though, there's just so many more people covering sports now.
Yes.
In general, not just maybe not your paper, but overall.
What happened to sports when USA Today came out, and the guy's name was a very good friend of Otto Silva's paper.
Al Newhart.
Huh?
Al Newhart.
Just died.
Yeah.
And I was in office with him and Otto one day, and he was telling Otto about this dream he had
for the USA
come
Today.
Up with this paper, and until then, the sports sections were about 14 columns, and they went to an 8-page, 10-page sports page. And I remember Roger Parkinson called me his office. He was a publisher. How are we going to compete? How are you going to compete? Same things they got, if you want to compete. And we didn't go that far, but we went a lot farther, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but plus you guys were local. I mean, I don't need the USA Today. All I want to know is what's going on locally.
Yeah,
you know.
But we, it is amazing. Sid's right. When I was a copy boy there in the 60s, it was, on a Monday, you'd have if the Vikings, on a Monday or Tuesday when the Vikings were, when it wasn't football, you'd have a 3-page sports section.
That's it?
Yep.
We had a problem. Mr. Klobuchar, we had 14 columns. He wanted to write 13.
14 columns is your total space devoted to sports? Is that what that means?
Yeah, now on a Sunday you got...
This is the best story of all time. We had a guy named Louis Green who was in what you call the slot. He lays out all the papers.
Okay.
And the Klobuchar writes his story, and it takes up most of the paper. And Louis Green goes down when we had the hot type. They had a thing that was square.
In a tray. You'd put it in a tray.
Okay.
Yeah. Hot type.
And Klobuchar had gone and put all of the type
all his stuff back in. Yeah.
Back in. He comes upstairs. He's so mad. He's got a spike that he puts this copy on. He put his hand on.
Louis puts a spike on it, meaning what? He's killing the story, or he's eliminating something?
No, Louis and I think it might have been in the office that night. Louis and Kloby were going to go at it.
We're going to
go? They were going to go.
Whose side was Sid on at that time?
I don't know. Louis was a tough old son of a gun, though.
Whose side were you on at that time? You and Kloby used to have some pretty good battles, right?
I was in charge then, so I wasn't on Kloby's side.
You as a boss and a manager. Wow. Take a break, come back. We'll talk about the Twins homestand. There it is. J.D. Hoyt's locally owned, nationally known, and the perfect place to go this time of year. Any time of year, you can sit outside, visit with Pat, hear some stories. It's a lot of fun. Then maybe head over to the Twins game. Well, maybe not. 2-7 homestand, Sid.
They might add a few wet customers for the 3 hours today at Hoyt's.
Lavelle's not here. What?
Well,
I mean, are we set for another bad summer here? Is that what we've learned?
Don't look good to me. Like today, they get the bases loaded in the 8th inning, I think it was.
Yep.
And
still 3-1.
3 guys strike out in a row. Willingham, Parmalee, and the great Mauer strikes out. He's the final strikeout. I don't know. He's up and down.
He's hitting 350, but he's not knocking. Even when he has chances to knock in runs, he struck out in 16 straight games.
That's unbelievable. He struck out last night. Of course, last night's game may have said baseball, but I mean, 4 hours, 15 walks.
Yeah, I was there. It was awful.
Dempster can't find the plate. They're trying to hand him a win. He can't finish the 5 innings.
Dempster threw more pitches. Remember when Liriano pitched his no-hitter and Gardy was having a heart attack? He threw more pitches last night than Liriano pitched. And he threw 127. Liriano threw 123.
In 4 2/3.
Maxie, their starting pitching is awful.
Yeah.
And their lineup is mediocre as you can get. And what? Since what you expected on April 1st and what's happening now, what good has happened to them? What has been better than you thought? Florimon at shortstop, and maybe the bullpen a little bit, but not
in
that
there.
much.
Perkins has been good, given as a closer.
But nothing. Plouffe isn't. He's worse than you thought. Dozier's worse than you thought. Morneau is not hitting for any power. Mauer is not hitting in the clutch. Domit's not as good as he was last year. Willingham's not as good as he was last year. Hicks is a bust. Arcia is overmatched. He's ready to go back to the minor.
Parmalee's the guy.
And Parmalee's been terrible. What I'm saying is nothing good has happened to them.
I don't know what they expected, though, because I don't know what
Well,
they're
I
basing
think
it
you
on.
expected Plouffe to be a little better, Dozier to be a little better,
yeah, a little
Morneau
bit.
to be a little, better.
Well, they started off a little better, and Scott Diamond, the guy that really counted on.
Well, that to me, though, is a big miscalculation. Scott Diamond was injured, first of all, in spring training. He threw a shutout against
should
Detroit.
be your
or whatever
fourth
that
starter.
was, but he's a four-starter. But we treat him like, hey, Diamond's coming up in the rotation.
Well,
here's the streak stopper. Well, he's a 3 or 4 starter.
Well, he pitched pretty good last year, so.
Yes, he did.
Even though they had a lousy season, so. They got a lot of guys on pitchers on disabled lists. Maybe some of those guys can come up like DeVries and help them, but I don't know.
Easy to hit. If you look at the Twins starting rotation, what do you say? Easy to hit. They're all easy to hit. Who gives you an uncomfortable at bat?
That's what I'm
Not
saying.
Pelfrey, not Worley, not Correa, not Diamond, and this kid today should be a left-handed specialist in the bullpen, Pedro Hernandez. I'd get Duno up here. He might only go 5 2/3, but he's not easy to hit.
So basically,
it's nice to have somebody who's not easy to hit.
You got Deduno, Gibson, I guess, pitched well again today or yesterday at Rochester, and you got DeVries. Those would be the three that you think.
DeVries is easy to hit.
Well, Cleveland's won going into today. I don't know how they came
won.
out
They
today.
won 17 of 21.
They won 16 out of 20 games going on. 16
Yeah, that's
4 and
800
20.
ball, yeah.
And Detroit's playing like you expect. Kansas City has started out strong. They're kind of
They've
White
lost
Sox
a bunch.
are ordinary. I don't know what they can do here, but you can't keep on losing home games like they lose.
They're going to be in the 60s again. They're going to win, and they're going to lose 90-some games.
Oh.
You can't do it with this pitching staff.
No, you
do
can't.
it.
And I think the pitching staff's going to get worse as people see him more often,
Well, I don't think Pelfrey and Worley can get worse. It's impossible.
And Worley actually threw his best game the other night.
Yeah,
that we've seen in a while.
All the
they were
guys-
married men off the infield. They caught about 8 line drives.
What was the relief pitcher winning today in the 8th inning?
Renicky had 8 up and 8 down.
The next guy.
Oh, Burton.
Huh?
Burton, yeah, Burton's one of their good
Yeah,
pitchers.
they were counting on him.
Well, he's been very good.
Today,
I got to tell you, though, when you watch these teams for a series, the one guy that impresses you is Pedroia, man. The way he plays, his plus minus, however you calculate that in baseball terms,
He's
is high.
fabulous.
Because he makes plays. If he's not hitting, and he hits if he's not making plays, Patrick.
Yep, and he hated Bobby V. So that tells you all you have to know about Bobby V. A gamer like him couldn't stand Bobby V. So
I was in that clubhouse a couple times, and he's a cocky little son of a gun.
Oh, he's a good player.
What are you talking about?
Pedroia, your second baseman.
Yeah.
But you watch him game after game. I mean, he never gives up in the bat. He never gives up in the field.
Red
Everything
Sox
means
second
something to him. Yeah. And your
Greatest-
man Ortiz hit 2 home runs last night.
Yeah.
well, guess what,
They only
Maxie?
had going into the third game, he was hitting 750 against them.
That breaking ball that Diamond threw him, Maxie, you could have taken him
that would've
deep
been fun
in
to take a hack
Fairfax
at it
with
at
that
least,
one,
you know?
man. You would have hit it over the limestone in Fairfax with that
Big
one.
Poppy, though.
What was the story? Kelly didn't like him or what?
Who?
When he was here.
Kelly wasn't around anymore. Kelly, he left after 2002.
What you're talking about is in his book that Ortiz wrote. He said Twins did not allow him to swing from his rear end and just try to hit home runs.
Yeah, well,
that was the story. That's
BS.
what you're referring
That's
to.
all BS. They told him when the pitch is on the outside corner, don't pull it, hit it off the wall. And how many home runs and doubles has he hit in Fenway Park going the other way? Do you think?
Yeah.
Thousands.
Well, George Steinbrenner, I talked to George. I said, you ought to sign this guy. This was March 1st, and he wasn't signed.
That's right, yeah.
Wasn't signed yet.
Dumbest decision they ever made. Getting rid of him.
That's good. You save that thought if you can. Take a break. Stay with us. There it is. You see the deal that they've got going at Audi. Stop on by if you see Bruce Bonine and the whole gang right off of General Mills Boulevard in 394. Drive that Q7. Just take it for a test drive. See what you think. I spent the day in Cedar Rapids today watching the minor league Twins play.
A little better ball yard
Cedar
than they
Rapids
had in
Colonels.
Beloit. You
Little
must
better
have been
ball
in
yard.
Beloit, huh?
I was in Beloit, but the Twins weren't there at the time. We were doing another story.
Well,
on a
nothing
local-
changed.
Nothing changed. That's the
You
problem.
were there in the team.
Today.
They weren't there?
No, I was in Cedar Rapids today
Yeah.
watching the Twins farm team.
How'd they win?
They were behind 3-1 when we left.
They won eventually.
They won eventually. I didn't. Okay. We were there to see Byron Buxton and this Walker kid that you wrote about. You know, the one thing you notice is I think the philosophy of the Twins must be now hard throwers and athletic, because guys look like they play more than one sport, Patrick.
And they sure need some hard throwers. But the Berrios kid who pitched the night before is supposed to be one of their prospects. I mean, this is the last gasp for the pitch to contact guys. This isn't the philosophy you see on the mound.
It's what they've got.
It's what they got. It's the best they could come up with. But they're going to try to change with the times and get hard throwers. I'm sure they, you go play Kansas City, and they're as mediocre as you can get, and they got 6 guys who throw 95 coming out of the bullpen.
Yes.
So I think the Twins have finally gotten with it.
And in watching Buxton, who is just a tremendous looking athlete, he's quiet. He soft-spoken and talked to Jake Maurer. He said he reminds him of Joe in some respects. He doesn't get too up or down. But you're also reminded, Patrick, that this game is either at some point in time, as we see with Aaron Hicks, either you can hit the ball or you can't, and that's what it'll depend on. He's got great speed. He can cover ground, but you either got to learn how to hit or you don't.
They say he's got bat speed, though.
He's got bat speed. He's got everything. Yeah, it's just, they're pitching him backwards now, and he's adjusting. Sidney?
How do you know when those guys are playing in that league?
Well, it's a step at a time. You're trying to
whether they can do it or not.
No, but I mean, he's got the physical gifts, and Maxie just said that. Maybe he can't get to the fastball, then he's out of luck. Hicks can't get to the fastball left-handed, so he's out of luck until he.
But how long can they get along with the present team they got?
I've never heard so much conversation about Mastrioni in my life. Now he's hurt again, and everybody's making it look like, whoa, that they can get him back. Well, he's a fifth outfielder.
Let's just accept the fact, folks, that they're going to be 68 and 94. And then hopefully next year it'll start getting a little better.
Yeah.
And you'll see Sano in June, and you'll see Rosario maybe in April 1st, and you're going to start seeing some changes here.
And you will notice a change in the way these guys look, because it's a different,
Well, they're going on a road trip now.
Atlanta.
They're gonna. I would think they'd have trouble winning games in Atlanta. They got a pretty good team.
If you're going to go to the ballpark this year, it's because you like baseball and you like Target Field.
That's what we're down to, is what you're saying.
It's not going to have anything to do with wins and losses. They stink.
It reminds me of is when Seattle had the new ballpark and they played well for a while. Remember, then they took the big dip and they found out.
We got time to tell you why I'm suddenly optimistic about Gopher football?
We got one section left, so save that thought. Oh, my gosh. He's optimistic about, what does that mean you are?
Gopher football?
Stay with us. There it is. Thank you to local sponsors on behalf of Taste of the NFL. Wayne Kostrowski, another successful season. And don't forget to stop by Bar Abilene and patronize the great folks there.
Now follow me here.
Okay.
2014, we go to East-West divisions in the
Big Ten.
In the Big Ten, and obviously they're imbalanced because Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, who's traditional, are all in the same East. So we figured, and then Delaney said we're going to have parity scheduling. In other words, the best teams are going to play the best teams, and the worst teams are going to play the worst teams traditionally. So we figured, who are they going to take in the West? Nebraska and who else?
Right, would be in Wisconsin, I guess.
Well, yeah, but they got the new coach.
Right.
They're slipping. So who's going to be up there with Nebraska? Well, 2014, the Gophers play Ohio State and Michigan. Delaney must think the Gophers are the next powerhouse in the Big Ten because they got us right up there
Michigan,
with Nebraska.
Ohio State.
Gophers, Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan. That's the way the divisions are divided.
Well, they make that schedule with computers.
No, they don't.
I don't think they need computers for that one.
And,
Parity.
Anything can happen. Mr. Kill's not very happy about it. Can't understand what's going on.
How do you like the TCU home and home?
By the way, did you see who Wisconsin gets?
No.
2014? Yeah. Rutgers and Maryland.
Oh, you got to be
We get Ohio State and Michigan. We want to prove ourselves. Now, listen, if there's anything, Jer, you know what Jer says, don't you? If you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best, baby.
What are you laughing at?
Well, Alvarez probably got a little pull. More pull than Norwood.
The Norwood Teague, you think Alvarez says?
What Norwood do to make him mad? I thought maybe Norwood put a whoopee cushion underneath Delaney at the last Big Ten meeting or something. Ohio State and Michigan.
Barry
What?
Alvarez has a little more power than
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to
Gophers.
control
Well,
the schedule.
they're gonna
Eventually
play
they'll
by the
play
in the
each other.
future, the future, 2 of the 3 Gophers crossover games, when they go to 9, are going to be Rutgers, Maryland, and
Yep.
Indiana, and then they'll have to play one of the big boys.
See you back here next week, everybody.